Mortgage with
Brad Schooler from Ruoff Mortgage.
And recently we have kind of gotten to know each other more working together. We've known each other for a while. And we've gotten to know each other more and found out some interesting facts about each other and thought
we get together and, give each other a little Q&A session. That way you guys can learn some things about us that we learned about each other and learn a little bit more about Ruoff.
Yep. So let's start with how you got in the business.
It was really weird. Some of you know that I was a restaurant owner for 16 years. But you don't know I was a math major in college and just accidentally became a restaurant owner. And after working 80 hours a week and being in the restaurant and just walked in one day and didn't love it anymore. And knew a guy that did this. Went out and had dinner with him and said, do you think I could do what you do? And he was like, well, because we worked together out of college, and he's like, you're the best salesman I've ever met. He goes, how are you with math? And I was like, I was a math major in college. So I interviewed, got the job, and just kind of took off. So what about you?
Well, I got to back up for a second. How did you accidentally become a restaurant owner?
It was just a weird thing. My first job out of college took me to North Carolina as a sales rep. I had Winston-Salem West, all of North Carolina as a sales territory, and my cousin had married a guy who was from New York and opened his second pizza restaurant in Winston-Salem. And I stopped in, and after I was at my new job for a month, I would leave on Monday at 6 a.m. My daughter Alyssa, which a lot of you know, was 6 months old. I would leave Monday at 6 a.m. and I wouldn't get home till Thursday at 6 p.m. We had no friends. We lived in Greenville, South Carolina. Had no friends, knew no one, and I was constantly on the road. So my cousin could see that I was depressed, and she was like, you could just, I'll help you move here. You can work at the restaurant till you figure out what you want to do or whatever else. So did that, fell in love with the restaurant business, and did work down there for 2 or 3 years. My son was born there. Learned the business, and my younger brother was in a car accident and got a settlement, and he had come to stay with me for a while, and he was like, hey, what do you think about moving back to Kentucky and opening a restaurant? So we moved back to Kentucky and opened a restaurant.
Nice.
So
awesome. Well, you asked how I got into the business. So I got into banking straight out of college. Didn't think that I needed college, so I actually dropped out after 2 years. Got a 2-year degree, so I guess it's not truly dropping out, but got a 2-year degree, thought that was enough. Actually wanted to be a mechanic,
okay.
A car mechanic.
Nothing wrong with that.
And my father advised me against it, being in the car industry for as long as he has been. He advised me against it. He said, find a better job. And so I started out as a teller. Went through a teller, went to banker, branch manager, and got into the lending aspect of banking and was doing home equity loans at the time. Liked the lending aspect of banking. That was the most, I liked the challenge of it, the puzzle, it's always different. And then it wasn't until I went to buy my first house with my wife and used the current bank I worked with, and it was a terrible experience. Absolute terrible experience. And I worked for the company, and there was no communication, had no idea what was going on. We closed late, which we did build a house, so I won't blame that all on the lender, but
You learned everything you're not supposed to do in
right.
that job.
Right.
Yeah.
Learned everything you're not supposed to do, essentially. And I told my wife, we just bought this house. We had a 1-year-old at the time. And I said, if this is what's out there for mortgage lending, as in if this is the customer service people are getting, then it doesn't take much to be a standout loan officer in our industry, right? Like
Yeah.
we could probably count on both hands the amount of great lenders that we know in this industry and friends that work at other companies, right? I mean, so I decided to quit my job and found somebody who would take in somebody with no experience at all, had no idea about the rules, regulations, or anything. Got a job at a bank, a different bank, doing mortgages, and then now the rest is kind of history.
It's funny that you say that because I had no idea what escrow was when I got hired. I didn't know. I had bought a house, but I'm a guy that goes in and I'm like, where do I sign? Because I'm a trusting person, so I just think everybody's going to have the best interest at heart. So I just signed. So I never really learned. So the first, I think 5-6 weeks that I was in the business, I just sat in my office. I'd show up every day at 8:30, and I would just Google mortgage facts and then read up on it, make notes to myself, and was there till 4 o'clock until I finally kind of learned the business and what it was. So yeah, it's a lot of us, I think, are trial by fire when we get into this. It's one of those things.
Oh, 100%.
You just figure it out.
Well, yeah, there's no true training, right? I mean, it's there is a test you have to take if you're in our position as a mortgage lender or broker. There's a test you have to take that bankers don't, and essentially, you just learn by doing.
Yeah.
That's the only way I learned. It was learning by my mistakes and what the underwriter could or could not do for me.
I still have my notebook that I took notes in the very first day, and I keep it, but it was that thing that's, you make a mistake, so every time I would make a mistake, I'd write it down and never make the same mistake again. Because, at the end of the day, we're here to help people get houses. So if you make a mistake and you tell somebody they can get a house and they can't, that kind of sticks with you. I mean, I remember my very first person that I made a mistake with, and I made a conscious effort at that point to never go through that again.
Yeah.
To always be specific, and especially careful when I give a pre-approval that it's going to be a good pre-approval, because I would never want to break somebody's heart like that again. So that is a big learning curve when you break somebody's heart and they don't get a house.
That's 100% fact. Yeah, I can distinctly remember certain mistakes that caused a deal to go wrong, just simply out of my ignorance of never having done either the type of loan or having run into that scenario before, and there's no way to salvage it, and you never forget about that one thing that caused that deal to fall apart, right?
You talk about puzzles. That's one funny thing. I love math puzzles. I mean, I grew up as a kid wanting to do math puzzles and things like that. I see the world in numbers. And when I knew I was probably going to be pretty good at it, I was in with my processor, and my very first difficult loan, the client had, I think, 35 open lines of credit. So I had to sit down and figure out how to get the DTIs down. So the processor brought me in the office, and we're looking at the VOL screen. And within 30 seconds, I go, oh, I see it. We can just do this, they can pay this off, do this, and do this. And she goes, what? And I was like, we just do this. And she goes, how did you see that? She goes, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I would have to sit here for like 30, 40 minutes to find that. And I go, I just see things that way. So, that I think that's one of my strong suits, is just being able to look at numbers and figure them out. But also, I refuse to let people down. So I'm always going to do whatever I can to get that client taken care of and answer them on time. So, I feel like that's my strong suit. What do you think your strong suit is? What's made you successful? Because you've been in the business as long as I have, and I think you've made a really good name for yourself and become fairly successful at it. What do you think's got you to this point?
I'd have to say my biggest strength is I don't easily give up, and so I'm not. Here it's weird. My biggest challenge is my confidence, but the way I got started was literally going to the Bluegrass Realtors website, pulling up the A's for realtors, and just started calling. Had no connections when I first got started. Knew no one in the industry. My boss at the time helped me get connected with a few people as well. But my strength was, I guess I wasn't afraid to take the risk. Right? I wasn't afraid to pick up the phone and make the call.
Cyber stalking is a good thing in the mortgage business, but not really.
Social media has obviously grown even in the short time we've been in the industry. But, at the time, it was like girlfriend stalking, right? You go in and pull up their Facebook page, you find out something, and so you can have some kind of common interest when you make that call, right? And then you go and meet them, and then it's just like any other relationship, right? You don't expect anything right off the bat. You build that trust, and you build the rapport, and then the business just kind of naturally comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess my strength would be the lack of fear to try something new. And now I've gotten into videos and all that where some people struggle to get into that because they're afraid of how they look on camera or how they sound, and it's one of those things that I've done it so much now it's second nature. Where
I appreciate that about you, because I mean, this is probably my second or third video.
Yeah.
I've been in the business for almost 7 years, and I just am not a video guy, but I'm becoming. That's one of the reasons why I like it here, is because of the people here are so into that, and it's a really cool thing, and I think it's necessary, to get out and just to teach people more about you, and they just see who you are.
Right.
It's hard to you can lie your way through a lot of stuff, or
sure.
Kind of salesman-y stuff, but at the end of the day, if you make enough videos, people are going to figure out who you are. So
right.
I appreciate that about you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I try to just be my genuine self. Not everybody's gonna like it, but I've even had clients that have, once they've been referred to me, they've looked me up on Facebook and watched my videos, and then they felt like they kind of knew me before I even called.
Yeah.
So it has come in handy.
It's funny you say that you didn't know anybody. When I got interviewed, because I was a restaurant owner here in town for 16 years, I knew a lot of people. So the first person who hired me asked me the question of, how many realtors do you think you know? And I sat down and counted up, and I counted up 34 realtors that I knew personally, that had come to my restaurant, that I had their phone numbers, I was close with, and he was, I think because he'd seen me in my restaurant and saw how I was with people, and knew I had customer service. I told him I was a math major, and I knew 34 realtors. I had a natural jumping off spot.
An edge over everybody.
In my 7 years in this business, do you know how many loans I've closed with those 34 people? 0. Not one of those people. Now there have been one or two try to send me business, and
sure.
it just never really kind of worked out, or they're not full-time realtors. But
right.
It's one of those things that you have to build a relationship with.
Yeah.
Even if you know somebody, you may not get business from them.
Right.
At the end of the day, your realtor partners have to be comfortable with you, and trust you. And if they already have somebody, and I think that's another thing I appreciate about you, that I think you and I are very similar on, is that we want to work with people that want to work with us,
right.
that are like-minded.
Yeah.
I think we both work with people that probably weren't the type of people we wanted to work with, or have the same personality or attitude that we have, and we just didn't want to work with them anymore. I think at the end of the day, this job can be very stressful. We have our clients' best interests at heart, and it can be stressful at times. And another thing we have in common is that we always want to do what's best for our clients,
right.
and put them first. And I think that your ideals like that have to line up with your realtor partners. So I think that just because you know a realtor doesn't mean that it's always going to be the best fit for you or the realtor. The realtor
sure.
has to have a comfortable level with the lender as well.
Right. So what's your biggest strength, you think?
My biggest strength is that I refuse to let anybody down. Like, at the end of the day, I grew up, a lot of people don't know this, I grew up poor in government housing. And nobody in my family ever, half of them didn't graduate high school. They all had, very blue collar, hard jobs, never really made a lot of money. So I've always, respected people that worked hard for their money, and understood that, life can be difficult. And the very first time that I got to, help somebody buy their first house, this young family, it gave me this sense of accomplishment that I helped these people, and I love to help people. At the end of the day, I'll bend over backwards and cut costs, whatever I can do to help people get done, because
right.
it makes me feel better to help people. So that with understanding how the business works now, understanding how numbers works, and understanding how to get the client the best deal, I think people can, my realtor partners can see that, my clients can see that, so then they want to send me people, they want to refer me out. So I think that's probably my biggest strength, is that I put everybody before myself and try to get them the best deal, whether I'm going to make money on it or not.
Yeah, and we talked about this actually earlier today, that it's surprising that we are so similar in the fact that we both want to help people.
Yeah.
Right? We even if there are competition, I mean, technically, you and I are competition, right? Yeah. I mean,
we're independent contractors at the end of the day.
Right, we're independent contractors. I'm trying to get my business, you're trying to get your business, but at the same time, we both recognize that there's strengths in each other that we can both learn from to help our business grow and to help each other grow. Because, I look at you and I was, before we started working together, you always came across as very confident and knew what you did. And I was like, man, I wish I had that confidence level in myself as much as you do in yourself.
Well, now that we've worked together, you know that that's not 100% true. I am one of the shyest people when it comes to this industry. It's very difficult for me to impose myself or even like interject myself into conversations with people that I don't know, or just to be that cheesy salesperson. I don't ever want to be that cheesy salesperson. So a lot of times I'll sit back and not say anything to anybody, not because I'm arrogant or not because I don't want to talk to people. It's because I don't know how to start the conversation. Like I don't want to interrupt people, and I don't want to. I'm really just shy. Like I think I use the analogy with you is that I'm a really, you have starting pitchers and you have closing pitchers. I'm a good closer. Like if I have a lead into a conversation with somebody, if I meet somebody and we have a common, and I know that I get the feeling that they're comfortable with me and they like me and they're open,
right,
then I want to have a conversation with them, and then they can kind of see the person I am. But until that point, I just sit there like stone quiet. And I think it comes off sometimes is that I'm aloof or maybe snobbish or whatever, but it's really nice. I'm super like if I'm not talking to somebody in a room and there's a bunch of people around, I'm probably petrified at that point.
Right. And I never would have guessed that. We talked about that. So, never would have guessed that you were a shy person just based on our interactions that we've had. I can go back to, I think it's the first time. Well, it's the first time we met each other in the mortgage industry, but I know it's not the first time we truly met, right? Yeah. So,
which is a funny story.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that. But the first time we met in the mortgage situation was at a Christmas party.
It was at the Roxy, yeah.
The YPN's Christmas party, and
I had just got done with my narcolepsy sleep test.
Yeah, which is another thing I've learned about you. But you came across as a very confident person. I would have thought you'd been in the industry much longer than I was in the industry. And we found out we're only a few months apart in our time in the industry. We're about 6 months apart, I think. We've both been in almost 7 years, or you're right at 7 years, I'm almost there. But yeah, you always came across as very confident. So you play it off amazingly.
Well, my initials are BS, so I can't be I do a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's I know it's a struggle. I still struggle with it. I mean, I know probably half the realtors in town.
Yeah.
But I don't go and talk to them because I know they have lenders, and I think I was in the business for 3 years before I asked somebody to send me a deal. Because I've always, there are lenders out there that'll go up and be like, hey, send me a deal, hey, send me a deal. Or they'll guilt you into sending them a deal. I don't want to do that. I want to build a relationship with people.
Yeah.
And if they feel confident that they want to send me a deal because they trust me and they've gotten to know me, that's when I want them to send them a deal.
Yeah.
I don't want to go up and say, hey, why don't you send me a deal? Now, the industry does beckon that you have to kind of be a little more assertive and ask things to do that. So I think that's something I'm going to try to work on this year. And do a little more of some of these videos, but I think that'll help my business. Is there anything that you're going to try differently, or is there something you think that holds you back that you should change that would help you get more business?
Yeah, we're on the same page. Like we very similar personalities. So I'm the same. I hate asking for the business because I feel that I'm a pushover or that used car salesman that's slick back hair. Not that that's what I've got. But, I just don't want to be that pushy, over the top annoyance. That's what I feel like when I'm asking for business, is that I'm annoying you.
Yeah.
Even though I'm very good at what I do. I think I'm good at what I do. I know you're good at what you do. So, it's that same thing of just kind of building that confidence level in myself that I deserve the business just as much as somebody else does. And if I don't ask for it, then I'll never get it. Right?
Yep.
I can sit here and BS with you all day, right? And sit here and shoot the shit, but at the end of the day, I can walk away and completely not ask for the business, and then as far as in my eyes, you've forgotten about me already too.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that's why sometimes I won't make a call because I'm like, that realtor doesn't even know who I am, right? They don't even know, I'm not even on their radar. And then I'll go see somebody out, and where I've branded myself now as Brad the Mortgage Dad all over social media. Mm-hmm. People recognize who I am, and I sometimes don't know who they are, and I feel bad even now that, like, I'm just like, oh, hey, I'm sorry, I've got a memory of a goldfish. My wife loves it, that I can't remember anything. She doesn't really, but yeah, that's my thing, is just building my confidence level and learning to ask for the business more.
Yeah.
So,
that's something we're just going to have to do. But the other thing is, I think there are probably people out there that are looking for other lenders, mm-hmm. That aren't happy with their lenders.
Right.
But whether people use me or not, and I know you're the same way, I just want to be an asset. I want to, if I'm a friend with a realtor and they don't use me, they use somebody else, I'm still friends with them.
Right.
I'll still answer questions for them.
I've had realtors apologize they're like, well, this person's already pre-approved, and
or I'm in a referrals group with this person,
right?
Or,
and they apologize. I'm like, you don't have to apologize for not using me, because and here's my thought process on it too, right? Is I got a family to support, and so does that person that gave them a pre-approval as well. They've already worked with them. Who knows how long they've worked with them. Now, if it's somebody that's got a bad reputation or doesn't do good, or it's some Rocket Mortgage, yeah, give me a shot. But if it's a local lender that is somebody that's in our small group of lenders, it's hard for me to say, send me that business, because I know it's taking a paycheck away from somebody else.
Yeah, I understand that too, but it's not, for me, I don't care how many lenders give them out quotes. I think
mm-hmm.
that you and I look at this industry as let's give them the best deal.
Right. Let's
not smoke and mirror people. That whole thing. Well, I'll give them the lowest rate. Well, anybody can give them low rates. I can give them the lowest rate if I'm going to charge them 2 points.
Sure.
And add $10,000 to the closing cost. But you go back to that used car salesman type of aspect. You're just moving numbers around. But at the end of the day, it's really about who's giving the person the best deal and the best service. So, yeah, that person does need that paycheck, but if I quote somebody, I always give them the absolute best deal they can, and I'll sit down and take an extra 30-40 minutes and work all the numbers to see, all right, if they move this around, if they do this is their absolute best deal. Mm-hmm. Then I encourage them to get another quote, 2 quotes, 3 quotes, and then let's compare them all together. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I'm going to say, well, I'm cheaper, and this is why I'm cheaper. Yeah. This is why you should go with me. I'm not cheaper. This is a really good deal. I can't get close to it. You should go with them.
Right.
But I'm always going to be honest with them. I'm not going to be like, well, this person does this and this person does that. At the end of the day, if the client can get the best deal, and I can give them the confidence in that the deal that they're getting is the best one, even if it's not with me, that's what I'm going to do, because they're eventually either going to come back to me, or the realtor is going to appreciate it, or I'm going to get I'm just going to be able to sleep better at night.
Right.
Whatever it is, but I'm always going to do whatever's right.
But that's what makes you a valuable asset, right? Because you're willing to go that extra step to say, hey, go shop. I'm confident in my abilities. You can go shop. I'm pretty sure I've got the best deal here, but go shop and see what they are. And if you have somebody else that comes back and says, here's a better deal than what you got, then give me a chance to compare it. Right, we've got the tools where we can actually compare 2 different loan options and see, this one might have a better rate, but they might have higher costs, right? And we even did a lunch and learn at a real estate agent's office or a real estate office recently where they said another lender came in and their selling point was, I'll beat anybody's deal.
Beat anybody's rate.
Beat anybody's rate. Right, yeah.
I guarantee the lowest rate.
Right, yeah. I'll guarantee you the lowest rate. And it's like, if that's all you've got to sell, then you're probably not the best lender for that client.
But also, what the realtor said was that it was a horrible deal. Like he got a couple quotes from him, and the closing costs were so much more expensive. Like it's a smoke and mirrors thing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the best deal is the best deal. It's for whatever term that you have, your home compared to the closing costs and the amount of interest you're going to pay. It's all pretty black and white. It is a little more difficult for people that don't have the ability with numbers that we do, or you sit down and have those things to figure out. But that's what we're here for.
Right.
We have to be kind of an arrow in the quiver for the realtors to give that information to the clients. And explain it to them in an easily explainable way, because
it's overwhelming.
It is. And even, our closing docs, I still get, they have numbers everywhere and they're not even make sense, but I know what I'm supposed to be. And I know
super fine print.
Yeah. But, at the end of the day, we still can't overcharge people. That's the other thing too, is ever since the crash in 2007, we're so heavily regulated that if we overcharge somebody a nickel, it'll go through 2 audits and then those people will get a check back for a nickel.
Yeah.
So, we can't overcharge, but there are people that can misrepresent numbers to make it seem like they got a better deal when they're really getting
not. They can manipulate it up front.
Yeah.
I can put any numbers I want at the pre-approval stage. Yeah. But once we get to the closing table, I can't change those numbers. Those are regulated numbers that we are not legally allowed to adjust or. What's going on, everybody? Sorry, we had some technical difficulties and we lost the last couple minutes of the video. But you're going to see more of us around. And our contact information will pop up on the screen as well. So we hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed getting to know us more. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it.
I had fun. And yeah, look out for more in the future. We can't wait to see it.
See you guys.
See you.
I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our favorite tunes. I only